First of all, Mark, thank you for joining me and Tom tonight. It's a pleasure for us to spend some time with you.
Oh yeah, thanks. I've been looking forward to this one. Yeah, for sure.
And it's great because it's not often that we do video shows. So to actually see you and that amazing backdrop that you've got as well, just, makes it all better.
It's actually it's like a green screen. Actually, those aren't real.
I think we should have done the same. We really should. Well, our show is called Decade of Decadence. We love the 80s. I grew up all the way through them. Tom, you were born in the early 80s, and your love of the 80s is just the same as mine. So for a show that's called Decade of Decadence, to be talking about you and your book, The Decade That Rocked, I can't think of a more perfect fit, Mark. I really can't. And it's out in America, isn't it? I know over here in the UK it's released on August the 1st, but am I right in saying it's already out in America?
Yeah, it's been out since June 2nd. And it's like we're already like scrambling for copies. Like they gave me like a couple hundred to sell them personally because I have these bundles where I sign them personally, and I have like photos and postcards and things. But I'm all out of mine already, and because of the pandemic and trying to figure out where things are, because a lot of the companies are short changed in help. So it's like we're trying to find more books, but we are doing another pressing, but it might not be for another couple months because they're coming in from overseas. So, I'm doing all this promotion, and I just hope everyone gets their book, sooner than later.
Yeah. I mean, I guess of all the problems you could have, that's a good problem to have, that it's
Yeah,
selling so well.
yeah, I'm not complaining.
No, no. And I've pre-ordered mine on Amazon over here in the UK, so I'm just waiting for August the 1st. Hopefully it'll drop down on that day. Because I've seen videos of it online, and it looks absolutely amazing, Mark. I mean, you've got to be so happy with it.
I am. I mean, it took me 5 years to literally put it all together. We went through a couple different designs and different ideas, and finally, I wanted it to be perfect. It's my first book. I wanted it to be narrative. I wanted it to, tell the stories of, the photo shoots that really meant something to me, that were game changers in my career. And just it's kind of like it's a narrative. It's like a movie, really, through the 80s. It's like my life kind of trickling through the 80s, and all the a lot of the events that I was at were really historic, like the US Festival and PMRC and Live Aid with Sabbath and Priest, and then closing the decade with the Moscow Peace Festival. So.
Well, it's like for me and you, Tom, isn't it? It really is. It brings back so many memories, and it's so iconic. A lot of the photographs you've taken, but like you said, it's your life that's there between the pages too for that full decade. What's it like looking back? I mean, you must have seen the photographs so many times too, but what's it like opening the book and seeing 10 years of your life before you like that?
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and I've had the book for over a month, and I still haven't sat down and read it cover to cover. It's like I've been so busy, and it's like I don't have the mindset to read it again. Because I spent so much time nitpicking on how this sounds and this sounds. Because I basically, it's narrative. I wrote it, but a writer, Richard Beanstalk, he kind of like took my words and unscrambled them and kind of made it sound like something. So every time I send him like a little paragraph or anecdote on one of the photo shoots, I would send it to him in a Word doc, and I get it back, and I look at it, and I'm like, well, he didn't even do anything. And I'm like, and then I did the red line. I'm like, oh yeah, he did. It was exciting to do that, and he got it back really quick. It took me like hours or days to write one anecdote on one specific event or a photo shoot, but he would turn it around. So it's kind of fun. I look forward to it. Each day for last couple 2-3 years.
Yeah, and you've got some great stories from the people that are in the book as well, haven't you? I know. Is it Dan that spent some time talking to people, and there's some little blocks of text. But I was watching an interview with you the other day, and I know you were saying that Dan, I think it was with Rob Halford, he was originally booked in for 15 minutes, and they ended up with 2 hours with him.
Yeah,
you've got all that stuff for that.
Yeah, Daniel Suick, he did most of the interviews in the book, and he just kind of we had 10 minutes with him, talking about, pretty much me and maybe a couple shoots, but he would just have a way of just like talk and talk. And I would he'd be excited to send me the tape after he's done, and I'm listening to it, and I'm saying, an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes. And with Rob, And he kept going. And then at the end, Rob's like, all right, I gotta go. Like he really had to do something. But he even got another question in. So, Daniel's a master at that. And unfortunately, a lot of these interviews are not in the book because we turned it more into narrative. So it just trickles throughout through the book, little quotes here and there. I would have liked to see more personally, but that's why there's editors at the publishing, and it's a photo book. But it ended up really, really well done.
Oh yeah. I mean, on the photographs alone, how did you choose which ones to go in? Because you must have. I mean, do you know how many photographs you've got that you've taken over the years since you began?
No, I mean, I think once I did the math, I counted how many filing cabinets I have, because I have a 2-car garage that's just laced back and forth, and I have a back room and I have an office upstairs, and I have things in my living room. So I have these filing cabinets from the 70s and 80s and 90s of these, because I just, I couldn't believe the access I had back then. And instead of buying like fancy toys and, expensive cars, I would buy film and equipment for me. And I just saw it as an investment. And so I have all these hundreds of thousands of photographs, and it's not like you can just scan them right away. So I only scan them when I get a request, either from a magazine or a repackaging of something, if Ozzy or Motley Crue or Motley Crue recently needed some photos, some retro shirts. So they pulled out some from 1982 that I shot of them. And
nice.
So then I go dig into my archives. So going into this book 5 years ago, I had a good amount of my prize photos already scanned, but I still had to dig in deeper, and I had to retouch, and it was a process, but it was tedious, and I never thought we'd get through it either, and I never thought that the publishing company would actually have the patience to work with me, because I'm very I just want everything perfect in my way, and they're doing books, and they've done it before. I've never done a book before, but so it was a good dance between the editor and the writer and me.
And I know as well you want this to be the first book of yours as well, haven't you? Because again, some of the interviews that I've been watching, which have all been brilliant, by the way, I love listening to all of the stories. Hopefully, is it some going forward that you want to do books for each specific band as well that you've got photographs for?
Well, originally I was going to do a book on just the hair bands, because I thought it'd be easy to do, just take pictures between 85 and 86 is really when all the bands really kind of bought the extra cans of hairspray. And, when Poison and Motley, Guns N' Roses, everyone was, even Ozzy, everyone really had that for those 2 years. It was full hair away, and I thought it'd be an easy book to do, and it kind of was. But after a year and a half, I looked at it. I was like, do I really want this to be my first book? And then I decided, I'm not going to get lazy. I got a little taste of how the books are being processed, and the editing and whatnot. I had the time, and I just figured I'd dive into it. And then we switched. We talked to the publisher, and they agreed with me. And I wanted the first one to be about me, about my life, and that decade that really made me the photographer that I am. And then after that, I'll do my little one shots of maybe Bon Jovi or Motley or Guns and Ozzy. I've talked to all of them about doing them through the decades. And whenever I ask them, because I like to have, I want there to be, back and forth with them and okay it and have them get involved in it. And every time I would bring it up to John or to Nikki or to Sharon and Ozzy, they were like, no, not yet, not yet. And I'm like, all right. So it's like being patient and not, there's a reason why. And I feel like now this one book is out and it's doing really well, and everyone's able to see really my body of work. And now when I have a follow-up book, I think they'll take it like it's, like it's not going to be like just a one-shot fanzine. There's pictures of Bon Jovi. They're still going to tell stories. Hopefully, other artists will be talking about it. I'll have some kind of twist on it. And then, because I can't really go on a book tour right now, what I was planning on doing is to go to shadowing some of these tours, like the Stadium Tour or White Snake or Sammy Hagar, Ted Nugent. Bands that are in my book. and like go to the day before to the town, maybe do some local radio on some classic radio stations, do a book signing, get some involvement with some foundations. They can help out with the gallery, you know, get a street team going like the old days, and make it fun like it used to be in the 80s, 70s, 80s. Because when bands used to come to town, they used to go do books, they used to do record store signings and radios. They go on the radio, and everyone, it was like one thing. It was like a celebration. So I kind of want to bring that back a little bit. So maybe me, because I've never done it before, and I have something to sell, and I like connecting with the fans too. So so unfortunately it didn't happen now because of the pandemic. So like in a year from now, after we find the vaccine, I feel like everything's going to be back to normal as it it at the time, and then hopefully this book, now that I have it and I can show everyone what I did, and now maybe they'll embrace that they want to be the next one to do the book, and then I could go on a proper book tour with both books by summer. Get some corporate sponsorship and do some galleries, some keynote speaking. I have a lot of plans. So
and come over here to the UK, of course.
Yeah, and you'll be helping me out with that.
Well, that would be go right then. We'll hold you to that now. Well, I'd said at the beginning, I'm a child of the 60s. I grew up through the 80s. And again, looking at your photographs, it was like, oh my, I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about them because they mean so much to me. But Tom, I mean, you were born in the early 80s, weren't you? And, you've been saying about how many photographs and album covers as well.
Yeah, the album covers, man. Yeah, the Cinderella, like the original Slippery When Wet, which is like, I'd seen that. I might have even seen that album cover for it before I saw the actual Slippery When Wet in a weird sort of way. But yeah, so many of the album covers as well that I just like, yes.
Yeah, I love the album covers were it for me. Just like you look at that 12-inch and you look at the liner notes and who shot photographs. Well, I did that too. And what's great about album covers is they don't go away. It's like magazines go away. And when I got my first album cover with Stay Hungry with Twisted, I was doing covers for Circus Magazine and Hit Parader and different magazines, and that was great. But after a month, they're off the newsstand, in your garage, like with everyone else's, on some bedrooms too, hung up.
Oh yeah.
But they go away. Album covers, they stay around. And when I had the opportunity to do Stay Hungry and the success that it had, and the image that became so iconic in the face of Twisted Sister and the face of the 80s, really. It was a good charge for me, and I wanted to do more. And I can't, it was like a game changer shoot, and the guys believed in me. Never did an album cover before. They wanted a rock photographer, and they told me the concept. I said I could do it. I built the set. My father was in construction, so I had a little help from my dad. That was a built set that Stay Hungry, in that room.
Yeah.
I got the mouse, I got the rat, I got the bone, I put it all together, and then I just stuck the band in there, and it took a turn. We're supposed to be a shot with the whole band, but that didn't work out. But it turned out the way it should have. D on the cover, with that image, and it became iconic.
Do you ever sit back anytime, Mark, and sort of reflect how much your work means to a lot of people and how ingrained your work is in people's lives? Because again, I've talked about this on the shows before, I had my ritual whenever I bought an album, even going into the 80s, where I'd sit down and I'd put on the headset, and that first listen, you'd drop the needle, and I'd just be enclosed in these headsets, and I would just stare at the cover. That would be part of the whole experience. Do you ever reflect on how your work not only will live forever, but how important it is to like millions of people's lives?
Well, I'm actually just finding out now, really. Feeling a lot of the love, it's like, talking to you guys and other people, and a lot of times I talk about the same thing, and it's, and I don't know. I'm kind of just feeling it right now. I'm feeling, and I had a feeling that once I put it in one spot, because I'm not like a bragger, like in the 80s. It was so busy doing all these shoots, and they were important shoots, big shoots. And I was just so busy, and I never even had a portfolio. And it was just like one door and the other door. And this is kind of like my portfolio. that I can actually show off to the world now, and I can, tie it into my website that is my brand. I'm actually coming out with a shirt line, a high-end shirt line that's going to end up in a lot of the high-end stores like Nordstrom's and Bloomingdale's and boutiques, where there are images of not the band names, but just of the band, of the artist, like the singer of different bands. And I kind of a different approach, with my name tag, The Decade That Rocked, and my signature with the camera. So that deal we just did last week. So I'm excited about that. So I'm looking for opportunities, and a lot of them are coming my way without me trying, just by talking to people.
That's great. I mean, take our now. I think we can safely say that, can't we? So with T-shirts, more books, it's all good with us. It's all good with us. I love the story, and I know you've told this story before, Mark. But for anybody that's new to us and doesn't know, of how you came across your first album, how you got your first camera, I think is a brilliant story. So would you mind retelling that for us, please?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I used to cut lawns. I was 12 years old, moved into a development called Lake Ridge in Mattawa, New Jersey. And I used to mow lawns for $5 a cut. I always, look around for other lawns that need to be cut. So I would knock on their door and say, hey, I'm Mark, I live down the street. You need someone to mow your lawn. And I look for long, houses that they didn't cut their lawn. So this one house, I had an eye on it because they usually had it cut pretty tight. And then for I kept eyeing it. And then one day I was like, all right, this guy's not cut. Either his lawn mower's broken or he's lazy or something's going on, So I'm gonna try him out. And I knocked on the door and I said, do you need your lawn mowed? And he goes, no, I do it myself. And I said, it doesn't look that way, And he kind of chuckled out of it. And he started, I was a little smart ass, but he liked me. And then he said, I'll tell you what, kid, if you mow my lawn for the season, I'll give you this camera. And he came back with this Bell & Howell camera, a big clunky thing. And I looked at it and it looked like it was worth $1 million. And that was it. It's actually looking at me right now. I have it hung out, so it's like it looks at me right. It's like right there. With my first bandana too, which is hanging on. So anyway, I got the camera and I just started messing around. I started messing around in the dark room. My teacher in school kind of took me under his wing and showed me how to develop, film and whatnot. And I used to take pictures of my brother and my dog, and my brother used to ride motorcycles, so that was kind of exciting. And then I kind of did that until I got bored, and then I ended up going to high school and started going to concerts. And then I stuck my camera into the my first concert, and I kind of liked it. And I met one of my friends, one of my parents' kids, his name is Kenny. Used to sneak into concerts and take pictures, and whenever I went to his house, I would see him hanging up in his dark room, smoking pot and everything, And he was a couple years older than me, and I just this is cool, He always had girls around him and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take this a little more serious, and that's when I started sneaking in my cameras into Aerosmith and Peter Frampton and Kiss, and then I just started, creating my own business by selling my pictures for $1 a piece.
That is, what a story. I absolutely love that story. I mean, that guy, he could have given you anything to pay you for that season, couldn't he? And then it just turned out it was a camera, and then you set in 2020 and everything that's happened.
I have a hell of a lawn mowing business right now. I don't know what I would be doing. I was always wondering, I wanted to, be rich like everyone else, not that I am now, but I wanted to do something that I enjoy doing. And I always I don't want to be, slave to the grind. I didn't want to mow lawns, and I didn't really, my academic skills weren't great. Going back a year when I was 12, at the same time I was mowing lawns, I had a motorcycle accident with my friend Glenn, and I kind of lost my memory. I've lost all recollection of my previous years. I knew who I was and everything, and then as the years came by in high school, I realized I can't really remember things. I didn't do good in school, and there was nothing. and I had a concussion and I was unconscious for a couple days, and they didn't put two and two together at the time, but it's really since then it's been really bad. So I wouldn't have been able to be a brain surgeon, that's for sure. And luckily I found something that really, I'm not going to say it doesn't take skill, but it doesn't take I'm not going to say intelligence either, but I kind of am. But you know what I mean? It's just like, all you do is, this is what you do. Oh, you look good over there. Turn that way. All right, stay there. Click. It's not rocket science.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that not everybody could do it though. There's definitely skill sets in there. Do you think your work would have changed dramatically? I mean, because back then we're talking about film, so you only had so many shots per roll of film. And it was expensive to buy as well. It's not like now where people digital can just click, 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 and then out of 1,000 pictures, then there's one good one. You'd really had to hone your craft and be careful and think about the photographs you were taking. I mean, how do you think it would have changed if digital was back then?
It makes you lazy, I guess, the digital. It's like, I don't know. I have I went through I was in the trenches, kind of say. So you really learn a lot in the trenches. Where you're not spoiled. You really have to, all right, you got 36 frames, once that 36 runs out and Robert Plant's, all of a sudden comes over to you, you got to, so that's why once I got to pull 2 cameras and then 3, I would have 2 and 3. But with digital, really, I mean, I still have 3 cameras because I like to have different lenses on, but you really just need one and you can just have a field day. But really photography is just about, catching a moment. It's not about if it's digital or film. So, really, if you're passionate and you want to be a photographer, it's probably digital is an easier and inexpensive way to create it. Just don't, let it, don't take it for granted. You have to, take your time, try to compose your photograph and your composition, and not just go crazy and say, all right, hopefully I'll get something good, because a lot of people do that too, and nothing to say that they're not going to get a great photo out of it. Just you're going to spend a lot of time editing, and which is another thing, like editing the right photograph out of that batch of thousands of photos takes a lot of time and know what to do as well. So, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Which of your photographs are you the most proud of that you've taken?
Probably the Stay Hungry album cover, really, because that was such a game changer for me. And the guys put their faith in me and trusted me. And I was still in my early 20s, just learning everything too as I go. I learned photography. It was just self-taught and just trial and error. I was never an assistant for a photographer. I just fell right into the game and learned as I went. And, I'd say that shoot, and also Ozzy, because Ozzy gave me the confidence to let me direct, here I'm again, 22, shooting Ozzy for the first time. And he's asking me how to pose and how to look good. And I'm like, I know how he'll look good. I know how to angle him, I just knew that. And he felt that I knew. And then when he saw the photographs, he gave me even more respect and more time. And we started doing a lot of crazy shoots and became close. And, and that's how you develop relationships in business and anything, really.
What's one of the craziest shoots that you've done then, Mark, that you can say on air?
Well, it's in my book. I mean, what I did, in the early 80s, I worked for a magazine called We Magazine. It's like a men's magazine. So I used to shoot rock stars with half naked women and some kind of a concept. So I did Joe Perry. I did Motorhead, which was pretty, I had to hide those because those guys got crazy. And I did something with Ozzy in a church in a coffin. There's an outtake of that in the book. But Motley Crue was the best one. It's the first time I met them, and it was in L.A. And we met previously, and we had dinner, and we hung out and got thrown out of a restaurant, and drank ourselves out, and that's how we met. And then we did the photo shoot. or it might have been after the photo shoot. But the photo shoot was them, and there was a modeling agency called the Jim South Modeling Agency in California, where you go in there and you get to pick the girls you want to pose, and we had this, there's a lot of men's magazines. So these girls, actresses, make some spare money on posing, so me and my partner, Michael Kirk, who was the editor at We Magazine, went there and we were looking at the girls. They come in, we tell them what we're doing, and everyone's back then, all the hot girls were into rock and, all these bands. So they all wanted to do it, so we'd have these girls over at the photo shoot and the band, and we had the blood and we had the candelabras and the smoke and motorcycles. And really, like, that shoot was their first shoot that got them national attention, which, as Nikki says in the book, it kind of like showed the world who they were, and not what they were, but who they were. Because, like, like people say, that shot, those photographs are, like they were staged. But, Nikki's comment is like, no, that's how we lived every day, and I just put it in a studio,
What do you think it is about 80s rock bands specifically that the majority of them are still going now, which I'm very thankful for, and they're still so popular? Why is it, lots of bands from the 90s have dropped off, of which the members are a lot younger, but there's so many 80s rock bands that are still popular, still going. Why do you think that is?
I think it was the excess back then. A lot of we're coming out of the 70s where we had the rock stars like Led Zeppelin and, the Stones, and then all of a sudden these bands that listened to the same music as I did, like Led Zeppelin, the Stones, Aerosmith, they become morphed, like they took a little bit from all of them and kind of morphed it into what became 80s rock with the help of MTV, which no other decade really had. So we had that visual connection with the audience right away, and for a photographer, you couldn't have picked a better decade. And then we had clothes; everyone wanted to outdo each other. It was all in the magazines, and when the 90s came, these bands like Nirvana and Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, I've shot a bunch of them for magazines because I just had the rock bands. I like the music. They didn't embrace photography. They didn't embrace an image. They wanted to play their music. They knew they had to do photos for publicity and stuff, but they really didn't embrace it. And the magazines started dying out, and they sold a lot of records and they got a following. You can't put anything against them. It was good music. It just it kind of the record companies looked at it like, all right, we had enough of the 80s. We're shifting here. And that's what happened. But still, like, moving forward, like, after the band started rebranding, like, Kiss came back with the makeup in 96. And then a lot of classic rock bands came out in the late 1990s. And I worked with a lot of them. Kept me going in between, what am I going to do, Mm-hmm. So I started shooting a lot of bands like Leonard Skinner and Eddie Money and Styx and things like that. But really for the fans, I think started coming back when, bands started coming back that kind of had a little bit of 80s sound to it, like Sum 41 and, bands like that, even Green Day, with a little more of a punk attitude, but it was slowly coming back, a little more rock and a little more fun, a little more image conscious. And then it just eventually these bands decided, all right, we've been away long enough. It's time to, it's like reinvent ourselves or, make a living, it's like, it's a lot of them lived off some of the money they had, and a lot of them maybe married into money, but everyone survived, I don't think anyone really started pumping gas or anything like that. There might be, but they kept it quiet because once you're playing an arena and everything, you're a rock star. The last thing you want to do is see your idol pumping gas. So, I think a lot of it was pride, and I just think it was the time was right, and then everyone started kind of slowly building things slowly, and there was the promoter started seeing some interest, and the fans were like, the fans now had their jobs, you know, and now they're in their 30s or so, where they're focusing on their family, but now the kids are growing up, and now they're exposing their kids to their kind of music, and now they're getting back into it, and then they're playing at the PNC Arts Center or somewhere, and now they're all these, you know, multiple bands playing, and then it turned into be like when I was a kid, there was Dick Clark had the rock and roll something where they had Chuck Berry and this one and that one, so it was turning into like that, but more stagey and theatrical because those bands were like that. So it just really is just full circle, and now today, still this decade is it really does rock, you know, and that's why you know, I called the book The Decade That Rocked. And then I'll do I want to do another one called The Decade That Still Rocks, and do like today, what they're doing today, you know.
Oh, that would be really good. Well, I'm just looking at the time. We could talk to you obviously all evening, Mark. We really could, and hopefully we'll get you back on the show as well. You know, at a later date, because I'm sure there'll be a hell of a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
But just to round this one off, with the book, and of course you said you're making the brand now. There's going to be merch for sale and everything. What's the best way that people worldwide can find and follow you, get the book, you know, get the T-shirts and everything out, and keep up to date with what you're doing now?
Well, really, it's thedecadethatrocked.com. It's The Decade That Rocked on Facebook, The Decade That Rocked on Instagram. I do Twitter. I'm just starting to learn that. You know, it's Mark Weiss Guy, I think, or Mark. Yeah, I think it's Mark Weiss Guy on Twitter. But, you know, I'm a Facebook guy. I feel like, you know, you can click on there and you can go places. Where Instagram, you got to like, you know, it's a little more. But I'm trying to embrace everything. And I also have a YouTube channel, The Decade That Rocked, where I have a lot of interviews of people talking about me in the 80s. And I put some, whenever I come across something really cool, like Sebastian Bach's first interview when he was in another band, or I just put up the Jerry Falwell when he like "Forgive Me for I Have Sinned" speech, you know, and when Ozzy, you know, wrote Miracle Man about it. So I put up that where he defamed heavy metal music. So anything that is interesting to me, I'll put on the site. Under featured interviews, I'll have my, you know, interviews like my favorite ones, like this will probably be one of them, be up there. Sebastian did an unveiling about a week ago of my book. And it's funny because I gave him the book and a week went by and he didn't call me up because he's in it a lot. And, you know, we have a lot of history together. And he didn't respond. I'm like, either maybe like one of the photos or I might have said something that, you know. So a week goes by and I sent him a text. I said, did you get the book? He goes, dude, we're just waiting for the right time. We're just waiting, me and my wife, it's sitting on the table and we're just waiting. And then I was like, okay, maybe he's waiting for him to fix his hair up or something, go out, you know, he's going to videotape it, you know, like unveiling it. And then he does this maybe a few days later. He's like, I did it. It's on Facebook Live now. You got to check it out. And he did this whole production with some music in the background, and he's in his pajamas basically. So he just you know, Sebastian is he's very a unique individual, and he really wanted to wait for the right time, you know. Yeah. And see the video, it's hysterical, you know, and it's like it's up to like 120,000 views already, you know. Got a hell of a following, you know, and you know, I'm thankful for him. You know, we've have a big history together. I mean, he was on my wedding, and that's how we kind of got him into Skid Row. There's actually going to be a video of Sebastian, Zakk Wylde, and Kevin DuBrow from my wedding in 1987. I just hasn't seen anywhere, and they did Tush, Whole Lot of Love, Rock and Roll. They did a blues jam, and then I'm going to be releasing it pretty soon. So, I mean, that's going to be fun.
That's going to be so good.
Yeah. So, and then I have a little TV episodic show that me and director Troy Burbank we did a spin-off of a movie he was in called Gone for the Weekend, and he asked me to play myself, a cameo of just me, him being a fan of rock and roll. And we spinned it off into an episodic adventure of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's called The Weiss Guy. And it's on my YouTube channel. It's like 12 minutes. We kind of finished it, but we were going to do a flashback scene, which we didn't get to because of all this, craziness. But it's up there. I put it up there. And Brian from Tesla's in it, and Chip Z'Nuff's in it. He actually sings Fly High Michelle in his fantasy scene. And it's basically these two guys that stalk me and, are always trying to, crash my parties and things. So it's a good little thing. I don't know where it's going to go, but we're going to have fun with it. We got to try things out.
That sounds like fun, like the 80s were anyway. Like you said, it was all full of fun. This is the stuff that we want to see. And that video as well, the unboxing video that Sebastian Bach did, that was the first glimpse I got of your book when I watched that, and it was it's such an amazing video. And he shows off the book so well as well.
Well, it's funny, he's like as he's doing it, as he's almost going through the book, because Sebastian is a special friend to me, and I put in 8.5 by 11 prints inside of his favorite, which I knew were his favorite photos. And as he was going through it, he's like, and I can't believe you get these amazing photographs. And then at the end, he's like, well, I think they get them. And, so I created this Bach bundle where you actually get all these, because I sell my prints for a couple $100 each, for that small. But I created this bundle where it's like you get them for a fraction of it. You get the book, you get like 10 prints, the ones that were in his book, postcards. I got these postcards that you can get on my site too. That I love. I always love the postcards.
Oh yeah.
So these get if you can buy the book on Amazon, I think for $45 right now. But I sell the book with postcards for like $5 more. If you want to get it from me, and then if you want to get them personalized, it's like another $10 or $15. And then there's photos, 8.5 by 11s, and different bundles and. I have T-shirts. I have these little stickers I throw in there, So, and the T-shirt, So just make it up as I go.
I'm cancelling my Amazon order as soon as we finish, Mark, and I'm ordering from you. Let's say it now. Definitely, I really am.
You should, yeah.
Well, for the sake of the edit, I mean, we'll say goodbye properly. Once we finish this, but for the sake of the edit, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure all our listeners and viewers with this one worldwide will really love watching this one, hearing some of your stories. Like I said, we'd love you back on the show at some point in the future because, again, we've got so much more we'd love to chat with you about. And once the book's out over here in the UK and across Europe, and of course, when you come across to the UK and we can meet up and you're doing all the book talks and everything, that'd be really good. But for now, thank you. It's great to see you, and we just encourage everybody, I'm sure everybody listening to this, because they all love the 80s and 80s rock music. Hopefully more orders will be incoming to you as soon as this goes online, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. All right, thanks for having me. Great chatting with you, and we'll definitely do it again down the road.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks,
all right, see you.